All right, Miles, let's take a second and talk about the Arizona Cardinals. It's no doubt the season has been very disappointing for Arizona. They had high hopes coming into the season, obviously going 11-6 last year, going to the playoffs, locking up Kyler Murray in the offseason. Everyone was hoping it would be a big year for Arizona. Unfortunately, this team has been decimated by injuries. There's no doubt about it. And that really held them back. But the Arizona Cardinals, led by Bidwell at the top, are making potentially massive changes at the top of the organization. I know you got the story there, but before I hand over to you, Cardinals fans, look, this is an organization that's been around for forever. People forget that this was a Cardinals team that played in Chicago. They played in St. Louis before settling in Arizona. This is a storied franchise, believe it or not, to a lot of people who don't know this franchise. There's been a lot of great coaches that have played coach for the Arizona Cardinals. Personally, I thought Don Coryell back in the 70s, read a few books on him. I thought he would be my guy 100% there. Give us your favorite coach of the Arizona Cardinals all time in the comment section below. But Miles, give me the latest out of Phoenix.
Yeah, Nick, if I'm correct, I think isn't the Cardinals like one either first or second
It's
oldest franchise ever?
tied with the Bears. Yep.
Yeah. So I
They're
mean, they
one of the founding franchises with the Bears, Packers, things like that. Yep.
big time franchise, a lot of good stuff going on, and they like you alluded to, they're making some changes, Nick. So this storyline is very interesting, and we're not gonna get into like all of the legal stuff and things like that, but we're gonna talk about the overall theme here, and that is about GM Steve Keim. He had stepped down for a medical leave of absence, but I wasn't really buying that at first. I didn't understand. It didn't make sense. And then reports came out that it seems as if uh, the Cardinals are going to move away from Keim. It's all but imminent that they are going to part ways. And there's a underlying legal issue going on. There's some apparently maybe a health issue. Depends on, there hasn't been a lot of information there. So for whatever the reason is, it seems like the Cardinals are going to move away. And in his absence, Nick, their VP of player personnel, Quentin Harris, and their VP of pro personnel, former Cardinal, I believe, Adrian Wilson, is going to be stepping up, splitting duties. And Nick, I think right now, this is a really good idea because I think whenever someone leaves who's this influential in the organization, you want to promote from within, from the people who've been putting the time in, who are intimate with the organization, who knows what their goal is, who knows what's going on. Sometimes when you bring a guy for like a front office position from outside of the organization, it'll stir too much stuff up. And overall, they've underperformed on the field, Nick. But I feel like the Cardinals don't have any like real major fires in the front office. I haven't heard of anything crazy. So maybe they just need a change of pace, move on from Keim, and get some of these new guys in the office. What do you think?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I'm a big believer, just like with you, with promoting from within. I think continuity at the top of any organization, especially NFL franchise, is really important. You look at teams that are in competitive year in and year out. You look at the Steelers, you look at the Ravens, you look at the Eagles, you look at Dallas, you look at Kansas City, you look at New England, right? They're very consistent. They're very stable. They promote from within. If they lose a guy, whether he gets fired or moves on, they just next man up, promote. They interview, find someone internally they like, move them up to the next position wherever they were in the organization prior to that. And it works, right? You need stability because the NFL, with the players on the field and the coaches on the sideline, is so chaotic. It's constantly a carousel with guys coming and going. So being stable at the front office is really important. I think it's a smart move by Arizona, focusing internally. I personally like Adrian Wilson because I thought he was a heck of a player, one of the better defensive backs. I remember watching him growing up a lot. But we'll see. Harris could be a potential good fit too. They both seem like well qualified candidates. But there's interesting reports here, right? And I think this is something to keep an eye on. So there is a rumor floating around, and this is according to Bleacher Report, that Cliff Kingsbury's time as the head coach is coming to an end. Jason LaCamfora at the Washington Post said multiple executives around the league are anticipating that the Cardinals will move off Kingsbury in the offseason. What do you think of that? Do you think this is a move where they get rid of Keim and Kingsbury, or do you think this is just a Keim thing, or what do you think here?
It is interesting to think about, Nick, because uh, quite frankly, uh, making the move from Josh Rosen to Kyler Murray, that was kind of all put in with Kingsbury whenever he came into the organization. And that was supposed to be the guy. And putting as much draft capital and now contract capital into a guy like Kyler Murray as they have, it's underperformed a little bit. And that's why you look at Kingsbury and think, okay, they're making the move. The season didn't turn out the way that they wanted it to be. Quite frankly, it was like a disaster in my eyes. Like it really blew up on them, and that's unfortunate because they did have a really nice team at one point in time, and there's so many great players across the Cardinals. You think of guys like Buda Baker who bring their like all every single day. It's disappointing for a guy like that, but I think I've heard the same reports as you. They move on from Kingsbury, and it makes sense. And the next guy comes in, and you got to pick up the pieces. You're kind of stuck with Kyler Murray at this point. But I've heard rumors around the league, Nick, that a guy like Sean Payton was interested. He has Cardinals on his list. There's really not a lot of weight to that, but that's just something to think about. But it makes me think the Cardinals seem as if they're a wanted destination for some big time coaches to kind of throw their name into the hat. So moving on from Kingsbury, I think you could get some top tier guys. And, I'm always a fan of, Nick, if your season is over, which the Cardinals, I don't think they're going to be making any big time playoff run or anything like that. Their season's pretty much over. I like the firing a coach sooner rather than later. Putting your lower level players out there, seeing what you got, seeing if anybody develops or gets any great play time, and then kind of like opening the door to the prospective coaches like, hey, we made the move off of our old coach. We don't want to stick with him anymore. We are now open for business. So that's what I think there, and that's what I like for the Cardinals.